talk briefly about chord substitutions. I'm going to use the hymn, This Is My Father's World. You will be able to find the lead sheet of the chord substitutions that I have on the website. And if you follow the link, you'll be able to download it for free on our website, giving you the lead sheet with the chords that I'm going to be talking about today. But let's briefly just kind of talk about chord analysis. If you struggle with recognizing chords, meaning you can't look at a hymn and name the chords instantly, if you're struggling with it, then chord substitution might not be for you right now. You really need to have a firm grasp in understanding your chords and what you're looking at. So if I say chord analysis, it means that I'm sitting down, and as I look at this hymn, right away on the pickup beat, the word this, I notice that this is an E flat chord. That's because I'm in the key of E flat, so that's going to be my 1 chord. I have a passing tone that leads to beat 1, which is E flat chord, E flat, G minor, B flat 7, E flat, and that's my chord analysis. So I understand that in my key signature, my 1 chord is E flat, my 4 chord is A flat, my 5 chord is B flat. Those are the chords that I'm going to see most often in hymns. We'll see some minors, and we'll see some other interesting chords that we're going to talk about today. But let's briefly recap our last chord substitution video. If you haven't watched that, check it out. But we talked about substitutes for the 1 chord. So my 1 chord is E flat, which means I have a few options that I can use, really quick options that are diatonic to my scale, meaning they're in the key that I'm in. So my first option would be the minor 3, which would be a G minor. So I could substitute a 1 chord for the G minor, which is the minor 3. I could use the minor 6, which is C minor. So I could substitute the 1 for the C minor. And then I love using the 4 as a substitute for the 1. This one has such a beautiful sound to it, and I'm going to demonstrate that today. But I'm going to play through this hymn. And as I go through and start substituting, I'm going to stop, talk about the substitutes I used, and then go on to the next. So as I start off, I'm going to start with a pickup measure. And instead of just starting on the E flat chord, I'm going to begin on a 4/5, which is the easy way to demonstrate this chord. Or if we were to spell out this chord, this would be a B flat 11 chord, or your 4 chord over your 5 chord, meaning 4 on top, 5 on bottom. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to use a diminished chord, then 1. I'm going to follow the minor chord they have here. I'm going to keep it, and instead of going to my 1 chord on world, I'm going to go to a minor 6. Then resolve to the 1. Using the 4 they have, the 1 they have, and now instead of my 5 chord, I'm going to use a minor 2. Then resolve to the 5. So your minor 2 is a great substitution for the 5. And how I like to use this, and it differs from hymn to hymn, but if in this instance, we're holding on the word ears, we're holding that 5 chord for 3 beats, 4 if you want to include the pickup beat. And so I'm going to hit the 2 chord on the first 2 beats, and then resolve it to the 5 on the last 2 beats. So let's back up into that. It's going to be a G major chord, because the next chord I'm going to use will be a C minor. This G major chord is not diatonic to the key of E flat. Right away, you notice that I've had a natural, this B flat here. This G major chord, we would call it the 5 of our minor 6. Our minor 6 is C minor. If we were in the key of C, G would be the 5 chord. So this 5 of the minor 6 leads nicely to the minor 6. So let's put it in context. chord, we're going to do a 4 over 5. Instead of a 1, we're going to do a minor 6. 4, 5, minor 6, resolve to a 1, 4, 5. Now I'm going to go to minor 6, 1, 5 of the minor 6, 4, now those are just basic substitutions. Now I can do different ones and I can vary it. I could start it off, instead of going right to a 1 chord, I could go to a minor. And then to a 4 here. I could go to the minor 2 here. So those are some of the basic chord substitutions that I would use on this hymn, and I would vary them. And there's numerous substitutions you can use, but that's just a simple idea for you to kind of work through on your own. Now let me play all those chords in context based on what we talked about. So starting off with this 4 over 5 to the diminished. And this chord is such a beautiful chord to use. So I'm going from my 4 over 5, and if my melody fits this, which because of my passing tone, it fits this beautiful diminished chord. And for this diminished chord, the chord that I'm using is my 7 fully diminished chord. So if my 7, we're in the key of E flat, my 7th step would be D. And if we were to play the D chord, whatever that chord is diatonic to this key signature, the 7 chord is always diminished in every key. If I add on to it a 7, this is a 7 fully diminished 7 chord. So I'm using that 7 chord to lead me to my 1. It's going to resolve to that. So we have